Good morning from a very early Dublin and Audi's RS e-tron GT. €145,000 for this car. Ascari blue is the colour. There's a couple of options on it like matrix headlights, upgraded alloy wheels. On tap it's about 600 brake horsepower, but there is an overboost function that can last for up to 10 seconds and that will give you another 50. It's got 850 newton meters of torque. It can do 800 volt charging if you can find one. You could get like 300 kilometers into it in about 17 minutes. Yes, there is the Porsche Taycan. What do you do with that? I don't know, because one has a Porsche badge and the other has an Audi badge, and that will always mean something different to different people. But let's have a little look around today at this car. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We'll go for a spin in a bit, but I just want to show you a few bits. The only colour that's not an optional extra is white, but every other colour is an optional extra. Depending on the model of car you'll have different bits of extra black bits. We've got some aerodynamic vents over the side. There's charging on both sides of the car, AC on the driver's side on right-hand drive models and CCS and AC on this side. You can get an optional 22 kilowatt on board charger. Plugging it in at home on a Type 2, overnight, you'll be absolutely fine. That will get you a range of, well, Audi claim 400-ish kilometers. If you turn the aircon off and it's fully charged, you will get about 420 kilometers out of that. But I think real world driving, as soon as you squeeze that throttle, you are talking somewhere around 300 and 400. Now, in efficiency mode, the car will lower itself even further, and what I've noticed driving this week is that it will catch on speed ramps no matter how slow you go over them. So that could be a factor, depending on where you live. The rear, well, it reminds you of Audis of old, Porsche, that Ferdinand era, many decades ago. There's just the kind of the Beetle vibe going on the back of it. The difference between this model and others, obviously, is the RS badge in the back. It's an electronic tailgate. The boot is barely 450 litres. You know, there's a little bit of, well, when I say little, a tiny bit of space down here. That just comes out, but it is tethered by a little piece of string. Couple of storage spaces back here, 12 volt charger, tiny net. Look at the tiny little net. And the opening of it is okay, but it is not the biggest boot in the world and probably not going to be the most practical. Would you get golf clubs in there? I don't know. Bring them to the dealer and chuck them in the boot and see if they'll fit. I'm not saying it's a struggle to get into the back here, but it is not the biggest space in the world. So the story is, you've got a big hump in the middle of the floor. These seat backs really kind of impose into the back. There's nowhere, it is strictly kind of a four-seater. There isn't even a seat belt for any potential middle passenger. Nice neat armrests for a couple of drinks. And the seats do feel very comfortable. I don't see heated options for them. And you do get your own individual climate control back here. And the seats do raise nicely off the floor. So I will say that you can actually get your shoes and your boots and your feet under. It isn't the most spacious of rears, but if you're strictly two adults, I think you'll do okay. And the glass roof obviously floods in the light and just removes that potential feeling of claustrophobia. I have also reviewed the Taycan on this channel, so if you want to go and have a little look at that, click the link. And you would definitely feel that you're a little bit shortchanged for the price of the interior compared to the Porsche, because the standard e-tron GT, which we reviewed ages ago, is actually a little bit dearer than the Porsche to get into the entry-level one, but it's still more than enough, and it's an extremely capable car, just the standard GT. And yeah, there's a bit of carbon fibre going on here, and there's an RS thing on the steering wheel, and there's red seat belts, and there's RS badging. The seats are a little bit more extensive, but really, you'll get into this car and kind of fail to notice any huge interior differences between this and the standard GT. And I just don't know if it goes far enough, especially when the Porsche is always just there in the background going, hello. Okay, energy consumption. It's actually not bad. Low 20s per 100 kilometers. So that's low 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. It's an 85-ish usable kilowatt hour battery, 90 plus. And yeah, like if you hammer it, it will use an awful lot of juice. But that figure is actually, considering the power, is it's not that bad. Now you're not using that power for very very long because, well, you just probably kill yourself because it's insanely quick. 3.3 seconds to 60 or 100 kilometers an hour. You got some levels of regen braking. Operate them by the paddles on the back of the steering wheel here. You can customize your view as you can with pretty much any Audis. The rear view camera is really sharp. I like the kind of overview position of it. You've also got air cool as well as heated seats in this. A little bit of storage for an armrest. You can wirelessly charge a device under here. Some cup holders. What more would you want? A B&O sound system, which is all right. I have to say, some of the stuff BMW are doing I find is a better sound system. It just gives you more of a thud, more sense of, okay, this is worth all this optional extras. Speaking of which, 1,700 quid for the brilliant heads-up display. I like it. It's not cheap though. But overall, a great sense of interior. Very, very premium from Audi. If I'd never sat in the other version of the GT or the Porsche for that matter, I think I'd be even more impressed with the interior. It's just, the Porsche just kind of pips it for the sense of, oh, this is nice. You don't even really need to, but if you were to put this into dynamic mode, you are genuinely stuck to the back of your seat. It's just instant. It's like, what the hell is going on? You've got this synthetic soundtrack that is actually quite tolerable. I don't have an issue with it. And this car just wants to go and go. And if you were on an autobahn or something, you could unleash its actual potential, but within seconds of driving it, you're constantly just on that edge of, oh, okay, I better slow down now. And that's one of the challenges of this car, is just actually trying to behave yourself, because it is so potent, so powerful. You would get whiplash. It goes like, you know what, off a shovel all the time. Now, even if you dial it back to efficiency, and that probably reduces the intensity of the air conditioning, it maxes your speed output at 140 kilometers an hour. That's probably actually a good thing. It's still absolutely bonkers fast. Even with that reduced output. It's just insane. Overtaking is done in the blink of an eye. So you're never going to be in any sort of situation where you're on the wrong side of the road for very long. One aspect that I do really like about the RS is you don't have to drive it like a lunatic as well. It is very, very calm. It's very, very gentle. There's no jerkiness that you would get in a high-performance petrol car sitting there in traffic and slow-moving traffic and moving on and off, and that endless movement of stop, start, stop, start. So it's very, very smooth, and just creeping away from a standstill at a set of lights just like this now, it's seamless. It's really, really good. I suppose that's one of the big advantages of going electric, with this kind of output versus what would be a traditional, just a bit more of a thing to manage in traffic. Despite the fact that it weighs almost 2.4 tons, you just wouldn't know. Like, it's so sharp, the steering really direct, slightest bit of input from you and the car is changing direction. I said that about the standard GT version of the car as well, though. It defied all sort of sense of, but it can't, but it won't, but it does. The Porsche again does have a little bit more feedback in the steering, but having said that, I mean, I can feel every bump in a good way through the steering. I can feel the different textures on the road. I know that if I point the car one way, it's going that way straight away. Despite being on 21-inch alloys, there's a bit of road noise, but I wouldn't call it excessive. You know, you can live with it. Depends obviously the road surface you're on, to be fair, but generally it's quite okay. The RS version of the car also has an air suspension. I've driven this car over not full-on ramps, you know, those kind of small metal style ramps, and when you go over them you don't even feel it. It's like, what just happened there? Now this is a particularly noisy, not very smooth piece of road for those of you familiar with it on the north side of Dublin. And yeah, you do hear pretty much everything now, but I haven't been in any car that doesn't make noise on this stretch of road. Now we've changed road surface again now, and all is well. Lane keep will just gently have some inputs in the steering for you if you're going around bends or whatever and it feels you're not quite in charge. I do find it very, very strange that for the price of this car, there is no blind spot. I mean, this car has quite a few optional extras above the €145,000 list price. Audi, what are you doing? No blind spot. Come on. It defies logic that there's no like, yeah, it's got pre-sense and it's got really great reverse camera, but like, come on, it's like, one big positive is to charge this car at home. It will cost you somewhere, you know, around €15. And if you were to charge or put fuel into a car of this performance, what are we on now? Are we? I mean, I don't buy petrol, but I'm aware it's like in some cases $2.20 a litre now at the moment. So, how much would it cost to fill? The difference is astronomical. I'm not saying this car is not cheap to buy, but if you're just choosing one or the other, then you know it's going to be cheaper to run. Okay, make your mind up, time. You got the money. You can have this or a Porsche. I get it, there's always going to be a bit more prestige going on with the Porsche. It's got a little bit more power, a little bit more torque. It's a Porsche. But not everybody will want one, you know, and some people, an Audi badge will be as far as they're going to want to go, and they don't want to turn up to work in a Porsche. Oh, he's doing very well for himself, isn't he? She's doing okay. Did they win the lotto? There's something in that, but then again, if you got this money and you're a proper driver fan and car fan, then I appreciate it is a more difficult decision to make. A nice decision to make, but a difficult one. A set of lights. You're sitting there. They go green. And ooh. And you do feel that extra motor just clunk into power on occasion. It's like, whoa, like all the other cars are clearly very far back there. It's an astounding car to drive. I will miss this when it goes back later on today. Do I have to? Please. It's wonderful that electric is capable of doing this kind of stuff. If you go onto my TikTok account, you'll see people, I wouldn't touch an M5. Yeah, alright, an M5 is always going to be an M5, but the point is, this can be achieved from electric. Not every car that's electric will perform like this. Totally take the point. But what can be achieved is actually kind of amazing. And I defy anybody to say this car is not fun or engaging or insanely quick when you're sitting behind the wheel of it. And I think when you're a car fan, there's a lot in that. Do like the little hum off it as well. It's just like you're just gone. It's brilliant, and it's oh so expensive. But RS, I love you. You're fantastic. The RS, it really is a staggering car when it comes to performance. take it on a track, and yes, the Porsche will have the edge over, but really, how many of us are going to do that all the time? It looks incredible. The amount of attention it gets on the roads, that can be a good or a bad thing for you. Supreme interior, supreme performance, supreme charging, supreme price tag, there is no doubt. But if you're at this kind of price point, there's very few electric cars that can do this. It will embarrass most petrol supercars. It has a fantastic interior that so many others just won't be able to match right now. And at that kind of performance level, it's kind of Audi or Porsche. They own it. Thank you very much for watching. Any comments or questions or anything you'd like to ask about the car, please do leave it in the comment section below. Thanks for the support. Please do hit sub if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next one.